Today, I'm going to talk about the glass child. The glass child was the child that was alone. They pretty much raised themselves. You were there, but no one actually got to know you or support you in any way. People pretty much saw through you like glass. Here are 5 signs that you grew up as the glass child. 1, you were highly sensitive and aware of the family stress. You just felt it. 2, you were drawn to people pleasing. Worrying about everyone else and showing up in the way they need it was actually an adaptation that kept you connected in your relationships. 3, you had a sibling or siblings that were difficult or demanded the focus of your parents, leaving you with little to none. 4, you were the peacekeeper between your parents, whether it was during arguments or generally always trying to keep things as calm as possible. 5, you heard you were mature for your age, or maybe you were an old soul, whether it was by family members or people outside of the family. You've learned that everything falls on you. You can't ask for help, and you develop this I can do it all mentality. You grow up feeling unsupported and alone. Feeling you don't belong, you develop a belief that there must be something wrong with you, that you have to be perfect or without flaws in order to be loved and accepted. The glass child is always trying to prove themselves, always trying to seek approval from others. They have this core belief that in order to be seen, they have to perform or achieve. And this comes from not being seen for being who you authentically are. You might think, I'm invisible unless I do something for someone else. Or no one sees me unless I'm perfect. Or maybe they might think, I'm not worth noticing at all. Adults who are the glass child might continue to struggle in relationships. Some might find themselves emotionally unavailable at times. Others, overly clingy, struggling to tolerate any space or distance. They might feel uncomfortable or disconnected around their family members. Because their relationships are very surface, they might end up feeling like familiar strangers. They might fear asking for help or being vulnerable, avoiding showing any emotion at all. Or they might be hyper independent. Remember, there are strengths to growing up this way. You've learned to be resilient. You've learned to be resourceful. You've learned to rely on yourself. But how can you heal if you're a glass child? First, you can let your inner child grieve. You had to grow up way too soon. You had to figure things out and you didn't get any of your emotional needs met. So it's important to allow yourself to acknowledge any and all of the feelings or emotions you might have, whether it's sadness, loss, anger, shame, and to acknowledge what actually happened. Next, you can begin to set boundaries. You weren't allowed to set any boundaries in childhood, and you often had to put your parents' or your siblings' needs before your own. So now, it's important to begin to care for yourself by setting new limits with others, which will help you rebuild a healthy adult identity. Next, you can learn how to ask for help. Asking for help or support will feel really awkward and uncomfortable at first, but being vulnerable and allowing yourself to actually be supported is how you create healthy relationships. Directly asking for help and telling close friends or partners what you need creates deeper relationships. For example, you can say, I need you to help me with the house chores this week, or I would feel most supported if you just listen to what I have to share. Next, you can build your self-identity. Because you may struggle with knowing who you actually are and what you actually want, it's completely normal to need time to explore and to discover yourself. You can begin by taking yourself on dates, exploring the things that you used to enjoy, or discovering new interests. Even small steps in getting connected with who you are is so important. Learning and expressing who you actually are will help you attract healthier relationships with people who actually want to know you for who you are. If you grew up as a glass child, I'd love to hear about your experience. Leave it in the comments.